Hello everyone, my name is Mosam Neog and I welcome all of you to today's session. I want each one of you to know that we are truly excited and grateful that you've decided to join us today. Let me quickly introduce you to our today's speakers. We have Tamojit Chatterjee, who will be talking about who will give you an overview of the business benefits of moving to Google Cloud Platform. Tamojit Chatterjee leads the Google Cloud Platform sales team for India. Along with Tamojit, we've got Prakhar Gautam. Prakhar Gautam is a Google sales engineer. Prakhar Gautam will be covering the offerings from a technological point of view. Along with Tamojit and Prakhar, we have Neeraj Pathak. Neeraj Pathak is a cloud business head for Searce. And I'm Mosam, and I'll be your moderator for the next 45 minutes. I currently lead the sales team for Searce. Moving on to the next slide. So let me quickly give you an introduction about Searce. So Searce has 12 years of improvement expertise with over 500 improvers and over 1,200 customer partners with whom we work day in and day out in identifying better ways of doing things. We are one of the top deployment partners for Google Cloud Platform in India. Moving on. So here's an overview of the kind of, of our offerings from CS point of view. We provide end-to-end services on Google Cloud Stack, starting from helping our customers create a go-to-cloud strategy. We help them with their transition to cloud. We help them with their architecture optimization and with their managed services. So under the headings of cloud advisory, cloud engineering, cloud management, and cloud product engineering, you can see the subheadings there. Now, moving on, this particular slide will give you an overview of the few industry recognition that we have received over the years, which showcases our cloud capabilities. Moving on to the next slide. Now, it talks about futurifying your business. So the webinar that we have organized today talks about futurifying your business. Now, technology is transforming the way we do business. And in many ways, it is now defining the business goals and missions. Our role of a CIO and a CTO and the technology head is no longer limited to improving cost efficiency and limited to managing IT systems. Now, to bring in the disruption that we have been hearing about, it is the technology team who has to play the role of a visionary. The technology team has to anticipate the business need of tomorrow and provision the right supply of newer technologies. Now, in continuation to that, over here are a couple of names that you guys all have heard about. We talk about Uber, we talk about Airbnb and Alibaba. And when we talk about disruptors in the market, these guys are leading. So what the point that I'm trying to bring over here is that companies are embracing technology and the results are very evident. We are witnessing a change. And here are a few companies that we all know about have disrupted the way things were getting done by embracing and deploying the right technology. So let me talk about Uber and Ola. Uber and Ola succeeded in aggregation services while a company like Meru perished as they couldn't see beyond the curve. They did not embrace technology. Another example that I want to quote over here is of successful online retailers are those who are building their business on strong tech premises. So I'm not name calling here, but the brick and mortar retailers who are quite successful in the brick and mortar setup have failed to see much success online as they were not a technology company. Let me bring it to reference. Standard & Poor 500. So back in the 50s, it typically took a company 75 years to become successful enough to make its way to the Standard & Poor 500. In the year 2003, 75 years were brought down to 25 years. So it means it took them 25 years to make their way to Standard & Poor 500 list. And by 2013, it got down to 10 years. So the point over here that we all need to see is that companies are growing from an idea to a startup to becoming a big market success at a very incredible rate. So if you are a startup, this is very exciting. But if you are an incumbent, it means that you have to look over your shoulder. But what both the disruptors and the potentially disrupted have in common is this. You need to move quickly and make the most of every bit of technology that makes you nimble and agile. So now moving on to the next slide. So when we talk about embracing new technology becoming nimble and agile. So it all boils down to about really, so the overall, the agenda of the webinar is to really allow you and enable you to focus on what you do best. So for most of you who are attending this webinar, your focus should be on your own business idea or your own business objectives. Your dreams are different than our dreams, and it's your particular dream that should be getting all your attention. So step one of envisioning your company's digital ambitions and to nurture innovation is to embrace the emerging technologies like big data, emerging technologies like cloud computing, machine learning, and these are brought forth to you by one of the world's most innovative company, Google. In the next 15 minutes, our next speaker, Tamojit, will talk more about how Google helps progressive companies such as yours to move fast from being owners of IT infrastructures to becoming consumers of infrastructure, which in turn improves the manageability, improves the performance, helps you in scalability, and enables you to have substantial cost savings, and on top of it, helps you to drive innovation. With that note, I will be passing the baton over to Tamojit.
Thanks, Mosam. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tamoji Chatterjee. I look after the cloud platform business for India, and I welcome you all, to the Searce Google, GCP webinar. I'm going to talk in the next 15 minutes. Thanks, Mosam, for setting the stage. Just to ensure just to have a quick, check. I mean, so all of you are, from the startup organizations, I believe, and you are, having your different objectives. What I'm going to do in the next 15 minutes is probably give you a bird's eye view of what Google Cloud Platform is all about. But just a quick check, have any one of you have currently used Google Cloud Platform in your, current or previous roles? Just a quick round of call on that.
So Tamojit will be doing a poll after, and we'll be doing a survey after the webinar is over, when you'll get a brief overview about what has been their experience with Google Cloud Platform. At this moment, the attendees will not be able to, vote on that.
I think. Uh, am I audible?
Yes, Tamo.
Okay, great, thanks. So I think the great foundation, we are talking about just, before even I talk about Google, I think we are talking about a total investment. It's with a huge investment which talks about Google Cloud Platform commitment to the market, to the set of customers that we are talking about. And if you look at alone in 2015, we have on our services for almost close to $9.9 billion. Now, that's a huge, amount. The reason I'm, trying to share this is that it gives you the magnitude and the kind of commitment that we are talking, on, loaning out our services to help you build great products, right? And we are not doing this since last year. We've been doing this for last 6 to 7 years, right? Now, moving, as a result of that, obviously, the success, the customer success and the business momentum that you can see with respect to our set of products is right in front of you. Just a quick glance of what, where Google stands with respect to its commitment for the, the cloud platform business, the momentum of the business. Moving on, what I'm going to cover next in, 12 to 13 minutes is probably four key areas. One is what kind of trends that it's there in your industries. What are the areas of the business areas or the use case that you can leverage with respect to Google Cloud Platform? And third point is in terms of why you should be choosing Google Cloud Platform. You have other options as well. So I would try to highlight those. And lastly, would give you a bird's eye view as to what are the specific components which can help you transform your business, be it with respect to saving your cost, be it with respect to creating innovative applications for your business, or be it with respect to growing your revenues. So most of the time, what we have seen, me and Prakhar been interacting with customers like you, be it a startup, be it an enterprise organization, or be it a traditional enterprise setup. Most of the time, what we have seen from the business or the CTOs, CIOs that we have interacted, there are basically three, key themes. The first one is, the focus in terms of growing your revenue. The second is in terms of your reducing your cost or driving your operational efficiency, and the third is, kind of taking ideas to the market, which in a startup case is very relevant. So we'll talk about how machine learning and big data can be some of the areas that you can, innovate quickly and take your products to the market faster. Moving next, I think the areas, and keeping that as the, at the backdrop, I think the most important thing is how you can leverage some of the capabilities when it comes to, advanced data analytics, with a recommendation engine. So let's say you're a retail shop or you are an online retail, online professional services that you're selling in. How can you know your customer better? How you can recommend them better before even they can switch on? These are some of the solutions that we have already built in on Google Cloud Platform, which can be loaned out to you, or we can help you build those. The second is in terms of personalization of the content of the company, be it any startup organization where you want to know the intent of your users in a B2C or a B2B kind of a scenario. The third is the second is we spoke about how you can drive the operational efficiencies, which is can be a first step for your business, is to see if you are running certain on-premise applications, how you can actually move them to Google Cloud and optimize on the cost. The third thing is in terms of creating innovative applications within your organization. This is the space where we can talk about how you can use Google Cloud machine learning, because this is one area that Google, as an innovative company that Mosam was talking about, is something that we are investing heavily, and we are coming out with some cool products which you can actually leverage with respect to an external facing environment, or maybe to automate some of your process internally within your business. And these are some of the examples that Google Cloud Machine Learning, Vision API, Speech API, Translate API, natural language search, these are some of the things. I'm sure you must have also seen how Google, this is not only on the Google Cloud Platform, but machine learning is something embedded onto Google Cloud by very DNA, and you can see the examples of it in your Gmail as an auto response, to certain mails. So these are some of the capabilities that we are trying to foster to help business to, create these innovative applications which are more, which are more reactive, which can interact with your customers or users, for that matter of sake. Now, specific areas, this is the high-level view. When it comes to specific from a technology perspective, I think on the left-hand side, you can see these are the areas where Google Cloud Platform can help you solve some of your business problems and help you optimize on your cost. I will not, dive deep into each and every segment of it, but these are the areas. For example, if you're running an on-premise application, set of applications, maybe it would be a good idea to sit across the table and discuss how we can help you move some of these applications onto Google Cloud Platform with our compute services, right? And save on cost with better price and performance. The reason, I will be covering the reasons of this in detail on why Google Cloud Platform, which is there in the subsequent slides. Storage and archival backup. A lot of companies have huge amount of structured data and unstructured data. how can Google Cloud Storage help you manage the entire life cycle of your storage or databases across your business requirements. The third area that you can start looking at to test the waters, if in case if you haven't used Google Cloud Platform in the past or in the current role, probably testing and development can be one of the areas where we can partner with you. Fourth, we are talking moving on with respect to analytics. It's one of the key areas today, specifically when it comes to startup or any kind of enterprise organizations. If you are, if you want to drive a real-time, analytics or time analytics with respect to your users, this is one area that Google actually can work with you. This is one of the areas that we have been working not now. This is something that we are doing for last 10 to 15 years. So we know how you can capture the data, how you can manage, and how you can store and analyze this data. And some of this I'm sure you must be using also. Last but not the least is, with respect to the front-end areas where machine learning we are talking about, and this is one area where me and Prakhar are, we are personally working with a lot of enterprises like yours or organizations like yours, where they're trying to simplify the user experience by taking the built-in capability of Google Cloud Machine Learning APIs, which can be either a vision API or can be a speech-to-text or a voice-to-text kind of an API services. Now, coming back to the point, I think the most important, having said these are the business, these are the strategic initiatives that you can typically look to transform your business, any one of the levers that you can pick up. The second is what are the business areas. I'm moving now why you should be looking at Google. Now, let me take a pause, and I think this is by and large, most of us perceive Google, how Google looks at. Right now, typically I would see it as a search bar where I can type in some queries and it will show me some results in milliseconds. This is by and large today the perception that we have about Google. But the way we look at it in Google at Cloud Platform is that it is built on the same underlying technology and the infrastructure which powers Google 7+ cool products which are running into the market today, which have got 1 billion+ users. So these are the the 6+ set of products that we are talking about: Gmail, Maps, Android, Cloud, which has got 1 billion+ users. Now, the key message I'm trying to put across is that all these products that we have built in, we have built it with a thought process as to how would you scale, how would you manage the security for 1 billion+ users. Now, these are the engineering set of problems that we have worked in the past, and we are trying to, partner with customers like you to help you solve those problems and move fast in your environment. We have been doing this is not now, we have been doing this for the last 15 years. It's one of the most, the fastest and the most powerful, the infrastructure on the planet. I'll talk about it more in detail. But this is the key message I want you to remember today out of this webinar. Why Google Cloud Platform is different? I think just to put it simply, I would bucket it into 4 different pieces. The first one is in the kind of true cloud economics. How Google Cloud Platform as a public offering for your infrastructure or platform as a service is different is that you get a per minute pricing, which is very unique compared to any of our nearest competitors or largest competitors in the market today. It makes a lot of sense for CTOs and CIOs or technology people like you, because when you are running workload, if you are running, let's say for example, you are running a workload for 24/7 into 30 days, you automatically get a sustained usage discount, which is what we are talking about, an automatic discount out here. Plus, we don't lock you into any contracts. If you are using a virtual machine, let's say you're spinning up a virtual machine for 11 minutes or 20 minutes, we are exactly charging you for those per minute billing with a minimum of 10 minutes. Whereas in our competition, nearest competition that we talk about is in R. So that's one of the biggest advantages that you get when you are moving on to Google Cloud Platform. The second thing is the most important, which is the custom VMs or the preemptive VMs. The custom machine types actually doesn't force you to suit your workload to the next size which is available. At Google, we believe if you have certain requirement, which is in terms of the instance type, you can actually pick and choose with the custom machine. It gives you the flexibility to pick and choose those many number of codes, those many number of instances, and actually helps you not to over provision or under provision from a cost perspective. Moving forward, I think it also starts with the future-proof infrastructure in terms of the investment that which was there in my opening slide in terms of 9.9 billion investing only in last year. It's a huge commitment, but not only that, we are also trying to future-proof this infrastructure with a lot of other capabilities. And some of the nuggets that I'm talking about is live migration. Today, we are the only the public cloud provider who gives you the capability of live migration, which means you or your customer won't know if we are doing any kind of hardware upgrade to your applications or to your workloads. The next that we are talking about, we are also this also makes us one of the biggest global private network provider, because we have everything that you are using from us as a service, makes it one of us the biggest, largest ISP provider, because we have everything built up from scratch, from grounds up, and these are on our private optical fiber networks that we have connected with high-speed bandwidth and network. Also with Google, I mean, obviously you get years of access to the innovations that we have been doing in our environment, and we can actually share those. And some of them are a proof point to that in terms of machine learning, which is actually helping you solve some of the simplistic problems in life. And obviously, last but not the least, the Google grade security, which is in terms of we have 600 plus security professionals who are monitoring this, and these are also the same set of people who are solving writing those innovative papers on securities, and also monitoring the entire stack. How it is different? I mean, these are the points which I've already covered. I don't want to spend much time in that, but it's basically the set of security, the kind of network that we provide. Openness is something, as I said, at Google Cloud Platform, we don't believe in forced lock-in. So in case we support a lot of open source technology, which means if you at future point in time, if you want to part ways, you can actually use these open source technologies to your benefit without any kind of lock-ins. Moving on next, I think it's about what are the offerings. So when we talk about Google Cloud Platform, just to put across a sketch, I think on the left hand side you can see any requirement which is trying to solve. You need some high compute instances, whether it's with respect to kind of your storage, archival, backup, or your databases. These are the the offerings that we have. Probably Prakhar can walk you through a little bit on the console part of it. And big data, obviously BigQuery, Dataflow, Dataproc, this helps you capture the data, process the data, analyze the data, and how you can visualize the data in your entire data lifecycle. And endpoint services is what we meant by using machine learning to capture to create innovative applications within your organization, which means and when we talk about machine learning, I would say one of the things that we do with our set of prospects like yours is to solve some of the problems in terms of simplifying the user experience in a B2C environment, or probably look internally. If you don't want to take much of risk, you can start on machine learning like Vision API, OCR detection, some of these areas which you can see how you can get away with some repetitive process which are done manually today. So how you can benefit from machine learning to create those innovative applications which can transform your business on both the sides. So with that, I would like to, I think this pretty much covered. I would like to pass it on to Prakhar, who will just give you a walkthrough onto this, on the Google Cloud Platform console, how it looks like. All right. Um, Thanks, Samo. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, Prakhar?
Okay. All right. So just to give a brief introduction about myself, I look after the sales engineering initiatives at Google. I have been part of this industry, specifically cloud, for about 10, 11 years. And before this, I actively used to sell AWS. So I've seen cloud grow by leaps and bounds from its formative years to what we call the next wave of cloud now. Happy to be a participant here, and thanks to Searce for arranging this. It's kind of hard to actually speak to a monitor when I don't really know whether my audience is sleeping or they're active or not. Um, there is a window on the Citrix control panel where you can punch in your questions. I think there is a lot of content which is covered in the last 15-20 minutes. So before I begin, just take a couple of minutes in case you have any specific questions, any burning questions, just fire them away so that we can take them up before we actually get into some sort of technicalities here. Mosam, do we know if this gets updated real time or does it take time?
Should get updated real time. I'm requesting all the attendees to make best use of Prakhar Gautam here. Put in any questions that you might have with regards to Google Cloud Platform. He'll be more than happy to answer your specific queries. Thank you so much. I'm not seeing any questions till now. Prakhar, I believe we can proceed.
We do have audiences now.
We do
Are
have
you
audience.
sure, right?
We do have audiences. Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So I'll just start speaking, but
So
just
Prakhar,
feel
I
free
believe there is a
to.
question here. Will this
Okay.
platform help in database migration? Is the question asked by GB Verghese. So Prakhar, I would like you to answer that. Thank you.
Okay. Now the problem is if I have a follow-up question, then I will still have to wait for the answer. The answer is dependent on what database are you talking about. We do have managed um, databases in-house. So if let's say you're running MySQL, then we have something called as a Cloud SQL offering, which is completely managed. There are other offerings which are coming up shortly, but it really depends on what database migration are you talking about. Are you talking about moving
It's
from a
Oracle. This,
completely.
yeah. So they've mentioned it's Oracle.
Yeah, sorry, we do not support Oracle right now. No, nobody stops you from running Oracle, but just that we are not certified yet. So if you get into problems with Oracle executions or any runtime environments, then Oracle will not support proactively right now on GCP.
All right. So there's another
Okay.
question from Senthil. He's asking, do we support Percona?
Okay. So again, when we talk about Percona, I'm assuming you are talking about MySQL. As I just touched upon, we do have a managed in-house offering with Cloud SQL. Now, whether you want to run Percona on top of this or something else, this is completely Google managed. So you will not be able to customize the offering that we have, but you can always have virtual machines and you can install the right executables according to your runtime environments.
Great. Thanks, Prakash. There's another question posed by Mr. Abhay Karhade. Mr. Abhay is asking, when is SQL Server based VM going in general availability?
Okay, so I think it is in beta right now, if I'm not mistaken. We usually the typical cycle from alpha to beta to GA is very, very short in Google Cloud. Um, all of this life cycle typically, and this is on an average I'm talking about. This usually takes about a couple of months, but no commitments there. If let's say you are willing enough to sign an NDA with us, then we will be able to discuss timelines in a lot more details.
Great, thank you. I think we have a question from Bhuvan Gupta here. So any tools available to migrate from Amazon, example, network topology, etc., or do I need to start from scratch?
All right, so there are tools available. Again, depends on the deployment or topology that you have in place. Um, I think Mosam or Neeraj, you can cover this later. There is a technology partner by the name of Cloud Endure. They actually install certain agents in your existing AWS environments, and they basically start replicating your production workloads on GCP with zero or very minimal downtime.
I think that's all the questions that we have right now.
All right. Okay. Okay. So I'll kickstart then. I'm not really sure if you guys are familiar with GCP console or not. So I'll just take a quick moment just to summarize all the things that Tamojit actually spoke about, and then I'll dive deep into certain areas which are completely differentiated in Google Cloud as compared to other cloud vendors. In the meantime, feel free to push in your questions. I'll be happy to answer them as I go. Okay, so what you see on my screen is a bird's eye view of how Google Cloud landing page looks like. So this gives you a bird's eye view of what is exactly happening inside your cloud, what are your billings, what are the resources that you have provisioned, how many compute instances, etc. If you guys are familiar with AWS and not so familiar with GCP, I'll try to draw some comparisons between AWS and GCP so that you are able to understand it a little more clearer. So what is called EC2 in AWS is called a compute engine here. When you drill down, essentially both are the same offerings. Right? So it will basically tell you how many compute instances you have provisioned, how does your storage look like, any other offerings that you have provisioned. So I just I think there were 2 or 3 points that were quickly touched upon by Tamo. I think he was being modest enough to undersell it. We basically have something called as custom virtual machines, right? So in any other cloud provider, you can actually go and provision only pre-configured instances, right? So you may basically there are combinations of CPUs and RAMs. So just like the case that you see here, right? So there are a bunch of instances like 4-core 15 GB, 2-core 7.5 GB, etc. And now your specific workloads may or may not require the pre-configured machines that are being loaned out to you, right? So if let's say I choose 4 cores and 15 GB machine for a particular workload, right? My actual workload might just be needing 3 cores 10 GB, for example, right? So essentially, I end up paying extra on my cores as well as RAM. So in this case, an estimate on your compute is around $110 a month. Now, here we actually provide you the feature to customize this, right? So let's say I choose 2 cores and 10 GBs, and you see the cost reduces down. So if you are if you're well aware of your workloads and you are able to figure out the right cores and machine configurations, then you can save a bunch of money. And this comes in conjunction with all the other goodies that Tamojit talked about. So there is no concept of reserving your instance. You pay as you go. And we have something called as a sustained usage discount. So if you leave your compute instances running for 24/7 into 30 days, then we automatically provide 30 discounts up to 30%, right? And then there is something called as a preemptible virtual machine. So if you guys are aware of spot instances, they are pretty much in the same lines, right? So in spot instances, you have to bid for your instances, but there is no such thing with PVMs.
Now, the only caveat with PVMs is you may have workloads which do not need to be run for 24/7. So PVMs can be taken away from you for any time from 0th minute to 24 hours. They live up to 24 hours. It's basically, imagine that we have some spare capacity and we're just loaning out to you. When somebody comes and asks for that capacity, then you basically get preempted. Right? So when you have some workloads which, let's say you're running some Hadoop workloads, or you're basically running some analytics workloads which only run, let's say, up to 10 hours, then PVMs actually become an extremely compelling offering because PVMs are close to 70% cheaper than your normal instances. So I just chose PVMs, and it basically came down from 60-70 bucks to 19 bucks a month. And again, with spot, unlike spot instances, there is no bidding mechanism to these instances. You can just choose preemptibility as on and off, and you can go from there. So I think I talked about choosing your custom VMs and knowing your application well to be able to leverage this. But actually, what we have behind the scenes, and I think again this is very unique to what Google Cloud offers. We basically provide you something what we call as a right sizing recommendation, right? So you might be running certain workloads and you may not be aware of what is the right configuration for you, right? So in a lot of migration exercises where customers are running happily on AWS, they actually, let's say they run 4 core and 16 GB on AWS, and when they migrate onto GCP, they come with an assumption that the same machine will work. Now, because of our extremely optimized network, and Tamojit again touched upon this, we maintain the entire stack end to end. So for a whole lot of time, your traffic never hits internet unless you're hitting the last hop. So we basically piggyback on a lot of ISPs and make sure that you get the most optimum performances. So coming back to the point, so what might be working for you in AWS in this example, 4 core 16 GBs, you may start seeing the same performance being given by 3 cores 10 GBs, for example. Now you will not be able to know this unless we actually help you out. So there is something called as right sizing recommendations. I'm just highlighting the portion which is actually what I'm trying to talk about. So basically look at your workloads and figure out whether you have over-provisioned or under-provisioned. And based on that, we'll provide you with some right sizing recommendations. So the top line heading will actually consolidate and tell you how much cost savings you can do. And I'll give you an example of how this looks like. So basically we looked at this particular server, the kind of workload. So we basically take into account the workloads for last 8 hours. And then we say, okay, you do not really need 2 cores and 7.5 gigs on this. You can pretty much run the same performance on 1 core 5.75 GB. And this will amount to savings of about 30 bucks. So to see a larger instance, let me just skip through. Yeah, this instance actually is running some Hadoop jobs. So 4 core 26 GBs, and you can pretty much run the same thing on 2 cores 9 GB machines. So this is where our machine learning comes into play. This is something which is completely focused towards end consumers and doing the right things. As soon as I click on apply, basically this instance will be rebooted with the new machines and you'll start saving money here. Okay, Mausam, are there any questions?
No, Prakhar, there are no questions yet. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So I know I just have 15-20 minutes. I would have loved to take a little more time just to take you through the offerings, but I can quickly touch upon what we think are our actual differentiators, right? We have quite a lot of differentiations when it comes to compute. If you compare EC2 with GCE, not just in terms of pricing. I know I've been focused a lot on pricing, but even if you actually compare performances on comparable instances, I think we trump our nearest competitors. And we would like the community to actually go and test out themselves. So that's why we have open source something called as a perf bench kit, perf benchmarker on GitHub. So there the community can actually just go and spin instances and check the performances themselves. There are a lot of independent studies out there which prove, which demonstrate that GCE is a lot more performant than all the other comparable offerings. Now, having said all of this, I still think that compute is highly commoditized, right? So all the public cloud providers, this is where our bread and butter lies. But what really differentiates us from all the other providers is big data and machine learning. So one of the examples that you just saw of machine learning is right-sizing recommendations, and we continue to do a lot of things, a lot of cool things behind the scenes. But as an end user, you can use a lot of our big data offerings to make sure that your journey to big data is extremely simplified. Now again, I don't really know how much you know of our big data suite or machine learning capabilities, but I'll just take one example of something what is called as a BigQuery. So BigQuery is our data warehousing solution. Now the beauty about Google's PaaS offerings is you do not have to spin even a single instance while you're trying to do stream analytics or batch analytics, etc. So we'll do the heavy lifting ourselves. So let me just, okay. I changed the project, so I'm just going to change it again. Just go into my original project. So basically if you're setting up your real-time analytics, or you're basically trying to do some reporting, you want to create some dashboards, etc., then all of these services are completely managed offerings, right? So Google will do the heavy lifting on the back end. All you're required to do is just write a bit of code, right? So you just write the logic, the algorithms, and we'll take care of the rest. So just to give you an example, again, this dashboard might look a lot like Gmail, but this is how our data warehousing solution looks like. So what I'm doing is I'm actually streaming all the tweets live from Twitter directly into BigQuery. There is some magic happening behind the scenes wherein I am doing some data scrubbing, some ETLs, and from there on I pull the all the tweets into the relevant tables in BigQuery. So just to give you a sense of this, it's close to 2 terabytes and more than 1 billion rows now, right? So yeah, this is under streaming, so that's why there is no preview available. Basically so this loads up. Basically what you can see here, what is the tweet, who tweeted it, when, what's the timestamp, how many number of retweets, etc. All of this is happening live, and I didn't have to provision even a single instance. Now I'll just go ahead and query something on this. So Twitter querying, I'll do an edit. What should I look for? Okay, let's look for Donald Trump. Okay, so please concentrate on this number, right? So right now we are going through about 2 terabytes, more than 1 billion rows, and this will happen, or so this is scanning through bunch of rows trying to figure out what is being talked about Donald Trump in Twitter. All we took is 15 seconds. And the beauty is we'll only charge you for 118 gigs that has been processed. So we went through 2 terabytes, but that is irrelevant for us because the query size or the query results, the result set that actually came out, that is the reference point through which we'll charge you. So just to give you a sense in terms of whether this is live or cached results, we recently had a debate, so people must be talking about a lot of issues between Hillary and Donald Trump. So this is basically retweets. This is basically sorted by retweets from Twitter. Now the pricing again is very, very simplified. For every terabyte of data processed, we charge $5. And every month, the first terabyte is completely free. Now, as long as you are able to specify your queries or your questions in SQL, you should be able to use BigQuery out of the box. Now, BigQuery plugs and plays with a lot of databases. So basically, As I said, right now it is being plugged with Twitter, so you can provide your own custom sources. It can be your own databases, it can be even Google Sheets, it can be CSVs, Avros. It basically plugs and plays with everything. Now behind the scenes, in these 15 seconds, we would have spun hell lot of machines just to make sure that this computation goes through, but you are completely oblivious of the fact in terms of what was happening behind the scenes. Again, there is no requirement of indexing. Every time there is full table scan which is issued, but as a user you shouldn't care, or you don't care. Right, so this is one of our crown jewels, which is extremely popular with a lot of our customers, and this is something which might find application in your application straight away. Now quickly, I'm just keeping a check on the time. I'll also just quickly take you through our machine learning offerings. So there is something called as a Cloud Vision API. Again, you don't have to be a data scientist to actually make use of our machine learning capabilities. Vision API essentially is an image content analysis algorithm. So basically you show us the image and we'll tell you what is the content of the image. It's the same concept that is driving Google Photos right now. Right, so I showed it a cat and it is telling me that it's 99% it's a cat, 99% sure it's a pet. You can also do your text extraction. So what is called as optical character recognition, OCRs. So I can show it a text. It can be a photograph, it can be a bill, it can be anything, and it will extract all the text. So as I said, if let's say you are playing around with a lot of photographs and you want to automate a lot of workflows, you don't really need data scientists to be in-house. You can start using our APIs out of box. Similarly, there is something called as Cloud Natural Language API. Again, all of these services that we are loaning out are being internally used by Google for a number of years. And these are the same services. So for example, this Natural Language API is an abstraction which actually runs Google searches. Right, so I've just typed in a sentence, right? So Google, headquartered in Mountain View, unveiled the new Android phone at the Consumer Electronics Show. Sundar Pichai said in his keynote that the users love their new Android phones. So if I start analyzing this, it will basically throw out what, according to this API, are the relevant entities. Now it will go through all the publicly available documentation, primarily Wikipedia, just to make sure that it is understanding the context correctly. So according to this, Google is an organization, Android is a consumer good, Sundar Pichai is a person, location, event, etc. It will also do some sentiment analysis. So polarity basically represents whether it's a positive sentence or a negative sentence, and 0.9 represents the confidence levels. Magnitude is how deeply positive or how deeply negative is the sentence. So it's 50-50 positive sentiment across this this sentence. And it will do parts of speech for you. So if you want to engineer further on top of these natural language API, then it will tell you what's a noun, what's an adjective, what's an adverb, blah, 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 right? So, I mean, again, circling back to the same point, just to drive these APIs, you do not really need to have data scientists in-house, and you can get started very, very quick. Lastly, there is something called as a speech API. This is speech to text. Again, something which drives our OK Google technology. So I'll just quickly show you two examples. Hopefully this picks up my voice. I'll select India. Hello, how are you? Okay, good. Now let me go ahead and select Hindi. So basically this will, this supports about 55 languages, and it has, there are more coming actually. कैसे हैं आप? Okay. So again, when you basically look at a use case, if you have concrete enough use cases, we'll be happy to talk to you and just see how we can help you in this journey. Again, compute, we are well differentiated in terms of our price and performance. But the real differentiator comes when you actually take the whole ecosystem into account, and also take into account your futuristic use cases, because machine learning will find an application in each and every use case going forward. So with that thought, I will pass it back on to Mosam to take this forward.
Thank you so much, Prakhar. Prakhar, we've got a couple of questions here. So Vikas Gaur is asking, whether cost will be automatically reduced when you switch over to lower or higher configuration. So I believe Vikas was trying to ask whether cost will automatically change. So I believe the demo which you just gave, where on the console when you go and choose lesser configuration, then whether the cost
Yeah,
will go
it
up or
will.
go down.
It will.
Okay. Now another question, Vikas, I'm not sure whether we have all the details here. The question is, can we bring our licenses to GCP as AWS offers?
So if you're talking about all the databases, etc., right now we only support MySQL and there is no license for it. We do not have support for Oracle or any other SAP, etc., etc. There is SQL Server which is coming up. So there is MS SQL, and I'm sure as part of that you'll be able to bring your own licenses. There is Postgres SQL also in the offerings, but right now we do not provide any offerings where you have to bring your own licenses.
So Vikas Gaur has mentioned he's talking about Windows licenses.
Oh no, so if you're talking about Windows servers, then the license cost is already included as part of the VMs. I don't think we provide the options of bringing your own license right now.
So we have another question from Anurag Jain. Anurag is asking, hey Prakhar, is there a feature to run the object recognition API on live camera feed as well?
When you talk about camera, if you're talking about video processing, then it is something which is work in progress. So because Vision API right now works on static images, but there is something called as TensorFlow, which we have just open source. It is the brain on which Google runs. So basically have open source TensorFlow, and that provides you handy models where you can write your own recognitions. But having said that, if you're looking at video vision APIs, stay tuned, we are coming out with it very soon.
Great. I believe there's no more question here. And thank you so much, Prakhar. And I believe, the topic is so interesting that, a couple of hours is not even enough when you really want to talk about the offerings of Google Cloud Platform. So to sum it up, we have already overstepped time. And now, on behalf of all of the presenters over here, we thank all the attendees for attending today's webinar. So once you leave today's webinar, you'll be receiving a survey on the webinar, and we'll appreciate if you complete that and provide your feedback. We do understand that you have got a lot of questions and a lot of queries in your mind, so our consultants will reach individually out, to all of you in the next couple of days. And on behalf of the Google Cloud Platform team, on behalf of Searce and our presenters, we thank you so much for joining us today, and wishing all of you a very great weekend ahead. Thank you so much.